This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so what happened? I just completed my logic, concat logic, and I want to deploy my program. The deployment process will be the same approach. I mean, we don't have, the same approach we are doing to deploy the program. Just simply go to deploy option and then deploy to application server. Make sure we need to override the version number or revision number, and I will select the server connection and choose the folder name in the server. Simply go next and finish. So what happened? Our program will be deployed, and you can observe whether it is properly deployed or not. You can check the log window. You can check here SOA tab, which will show you compilation errors, deployment tab, which will show you the deployment, if the deployment successfully completed or errored out. Okay. So in our case, deployment finished and it took 21 seconds. And also you can see the SOA tab. It will show you the build time. It is taking 15 seconds for build to complete the build. Okay. Anyway, now go to Enterprise Manager. Just refresh your Enterprise Manager. I am in Hello World program in Enterprise Manager. Okay, just refresh this is the refresh icon. Simply refresh it. And now I want to test my program to confirm whether my program is working as expected or not. I just want to confirm. Okay. So here I will provide the request. What is the request? I will say Ravi and submit the request. And what will happen? Our expected response is coming or not. We need to validate. Okay. See this? I got the response hi and a white space and the input string, whatever input we submitted. Suppose if I submit one more time, sorry guys, if I submit one more time, see I will give something Sai, okay, Sai Kumar, okay, submit it. Then what happened? The expected output is hi Sai Kumar. So we are performing concatenation. We are performing concatenation. Now let's go back. Let's go back to instances. Let me go to instances. I will refresh the screen to get the latest instances. See, this is recent instances. So we tested in the last 24 hours. So by default, the recent instances means it will show you the last 24 hours instances. Okay. If you want instances even before that, you can change it. See, the default value is last 24 hours. You can change it to hours, days, weeks, whatever you want. Okay. Anyway, this is enough for me as of now because I want to open these instances and observe. Let's open it. Let's open one instance and observe what activities it is showing. There is no change, but the logic we implemented, right? A new logic. So what I will do, hello world, the request XML, which contains Sai Kumar and assign. See, assign activity is showing updated variable hello world output variable. This variable modified, this variable updated. What is the updated data? This is the updated data. Hi Sai Kumar. The concatenation logic, after concatenation logic, whatever result we got, that was copied into this hello world output variable that we can see. And finally, what is the response went back to the customer? The client, customer or client. So this is the response we are sending back as an output of the program. Okay. So now that's it. This is very simple. Very simple. You can implement the logic, deploy the program, and test the program. Okay. So now I want to show you something different. See, from the day one, we are talking about web service input and output. Web service input and output are always in XML format, correct? Web service input and output are always in XML format. But in this example, what we are doing in the test console, I'm in the test console. This is a test screen. In the test console, I'm getting some graphical view. See, XYZ is a complex element. Username is a simple element of your XML. If I go to your XSD, see, so this is your XSD. This XSD related XML we have to supply as input XML, but here it is not the case. In the test console, we are getting something else. We are getting some graphical view here, correct? So this is just for the developer's convenience purpose. This is for developer convenience. So there is another option. If you see here, input arguments, under input arguments, you can see tree view, XML view. If I go to XML view, You can see this is the actual XML format. You can see the actual XML format. Okay, and your XML packed inside SOAP envelope. SOAP envelope. So what is this envelope? I will discuss. But if you observe, this is your actual input XML. This is what we are discussing from day one. Your input of your web service must be an XML data. Okay, but just for developer convenience, Oracle SOA Enterprise Manager is giving a graphical view just to make convenient to test. Okay, so it is giving a graphical view. We just fill the data, no need to write the XML. Okay, but really what is happening in the background? It is generating the XML only. Okay, so what is other than XML? We have something called SOAP envelope. What is the SOAP envelope? So SOAP envelope is a protocol, SOAP protocol. Okay, I will show you the syntax of SOAP envelope. If you if you see this, if you see the syntax, so this is the SOAP envelope syntax. SOAP envelope, SOAP protocol. SOAP protocol is a packaging protocol which can stores the data, to make sure the package will travel through network. Okay, I will show you. I will show you, and I will give you more detailed information. Just try to understand. SOAP protocol is a packaging protocol which can stores the data, which can holds the data, not storing, it can holds the data. Okay, and SOAP protocol root element is envelope. Envelope is the root element in SOAP protocol. Of course, SOAP protocol also belongs to XML family, so it also follow all namespaces, qualifiers, everything. You got my point? Okay, this is also XML family language. So it also follows standard XML behavior. It has predefined keywords, user-defined keywords, everything. Okay, it has qualifiers, everything. So it follows everything what we learned earlier. And envelope is the root element which contains two sub-elements, header and body. Header and body. Okay, in the header, if your web service contains any security configuration, if the web service contains any security configuration, let's assume I want to allow people who has proper user and password, they only access my web service. Such cases, we utilize this header section. We will see examples. Going forward, we see examples. How to enable security on a web service, we'll see. Okay. But a basic web service needs body section under envelope element, which holds either input XML, output XML, or error XML. Okay, sometimes your program may be errored out, right? Even if the program errored out, the body can hold error information. So envelope body contains either request XML, response XML, or error XML. So this is the basic syntax of SOAP protocol. SOAP protocol, and we need to remember the syntax. So what is the root element, sir? Envelope, E capital, and which contains header and body, H capital, B capital. Okay, under body section you can keep your request XML, response XML, and error XML. If the program failed for some reason, that error will be generated and the error will be placed in the body section. Okay, so now if you go back to the test screen, observe here, this is a SOAP envelope which contains body section. Header is optional, but body is mandatory. Body section is mandatory. This body section contains your request XML. Okay, let me submit the request. I will say Kumar as my request, and I will submit the request, and you see the response. Response comes in XML format. Response also comes in XML format. Same format, I mean, envelope, header, body, all this stuff will come. Observe this. Envelope is the root element, header. This is the header section. There is no fault. Okay. And body. The body, we got the response XML. There is no error XML here because my program completed without any error. Okay. So header section is optional as of now. Going forward, we'll see how to utilize this header section. Okay, we'll talk about it. We enable the security in a web service and how to test that and how to populate the header section. We'll talk about it one by one. But now, to test a basic web service, body is enough. Envelope body is enough. Any question? So guys, without knowing all this stuff also, you can test your SOA program. Okay, earlier also we tested, right? Not just today. Even in the previous sessions, we tested our program without any issues, even though we don't know what is happening in the background, because everything is graphical here. Okay, now, so what is this SOAP protocol is actually doing? Okay, guys, if you want to test the SOA web service, you want to test a SOA web service, that SOA web service program first deployed into application server. It must be deployed into application server. So this application, once it is deployed into application server, your program will have concurrent access. Your program will have concurrent access. That means multiple people, multiple times, or at the same point of time, multiple people can test your web service. At same point of time, multiple people can test your web service. That is concurrent access. Okay. For that, there should be, see, as of now, how we are testing the program, we are deploying it into server and testing the program through enterprise manager, correct? We are testing the program through enterprise manager. Enterprise manager is part of your server only. This is also coming with your server. So what I want to show you is, can we access this program outside of your server? Program is within the server, it is deployed into server, but I want to access this program completely from outside of your server. Okay, so how we can do that? So to access a web service program completely from outside of the server, first we should have the concrete WSDL. Okay, we should have concrete WSDL of the web service. You can see here, this is the icon. If you click this, it will show you your concrete WSDL URL. This is concrete WSDL URL. Click on it. It will open concrete WSDL. This is the concrete WSDL of your web service. And you can see here, endpoint of your web service. Endpoint is nothing but a URL. You know generally what is the URL, right? URL. This is my endpoint. Okay, and this is concrete WSDL. This is concrete WSDL. This is concrete WSDL. The first one is concrete WSDL and the second one is endpoint. Endpoint. If you open concrete WSDL, go to the service section. Go to service section. Within service section, you can see the endpoint. This is the endpoint. Any questions till now? Any questions? Guys, this endpoint will help you. This endpoint allows you to access your web service outside of your server. So my server, I'm testing my program by using Enterprise Manager, which is Enterprise Manager also part of my server. But I don't want to restrict myself to within the server. I want to come out of my server. Okay. So how we can test the program outside of the server? So you can test it in multiple ways. You can use any browser, just a browser. Suppose, let's say this is my browser. Okay, I have a browser. Within this browser, I will paste my endpoint. I will paste endpoint. So this is concrete WSDL. Let me get the endpoint. So this is the endpoint. See, this browser is completely out of the server. This is not at all related to the server. Okay, go to the next tab. Copy endpoint. So our expectation, this should give us a test console. Let me change the host name as localhost because my server is localhost server. I'm just using localhost. So what I'm doing, I'm trying to test it completely outside of the server, or I don't want to depend on my enterprise manager. Okay, this is a plain browser. You can see this is your Hello World program. Select the operation. Hello World is the operation. and you can say username. You can give the username Raju. Okay. Of course, if you want, you can see the raw message, guys. If you click on the raw message, you can see the SOAP protocol. Again, envelope is the root element, header section, body section. Header is optional for now. Okay. If you click on the raw message, you just see the SOAP envelope, like what we saw in the Enterprise Manager test console, right? Similarly, come down. There is an invoke button. If you click on this invoke button, request will be submitted to our program. Okay. So once I click this, you can see the test result. Test result you can see here. This is the request. This is the request which we submitted. And this is the response which we received. This is the response which we received. And you can see the response here. So Raj is the input and Hi Raj is the output. So this browser, any browser, not only Firefox or Google Chrome, any browser you can use as a client application and you can test your SOA web service. Any browser you can use as your client application. No need to depend on Enterprise Manager. Do we need to test our SOA service only by using Enterprise Manager? No. Answer is no. Not just Enterprise Manager. You can come out of Enterprise Manager, use any browser with the help of endpoint, which is available in Concrete Wisdom. Okay, by the help of endpoint, you can test your web service from any browser. Are we good as of now? This is the second approach or a second method how we can test our SOA web service. Any questions as of now from anyone? Come on, guys, speak out.
No,
Any
sir.
questions from anyone? No question. It is very simple, right? Okay. I will show you third approach. Third approach to test our SOA web service. Sir, we can use something called SOAPUI tool. There is a tool called SOAPUI. Go to Google, download SOAPUI for Windows. Okay, you can go for SOAPUI latest release. So you can select Windows, Mac, what is your operating system? We are using Windows 64-bit and then download it. Once you download, you will get a installable file in your download folder. Just double click on it. The installation process will be started. A simple installation, just simply double click on the installable file and you will get a wizard and click next, and the installation will be completed. It's very simple installation. Okay. So once the installation is completed, you can start your SOAPUI. It will be something like this. You can see this is the I'm using SOAPUI 5.7. Okay, you can see bunch of options here. We'll see what are all the different options we have. Anyway, what we want to test? We want to test SOAP project, SOAP web service or a REST web service. REST web service is a different thing. I mean, I told you, right? We have two types of web services: SOAP web service, REST web service. Currently, we are testing. Our Hello World is a SOAP web service. I want to test my SOAP web service. Just click on it. What will happen? See, guys, this is completely a different tool. There is no link with this tool. I mean, SOA is different, SOAPUI is different. SOAPUI is a testing tool to test any technology web service, not just limited to SOA. Enterprise Manager is limited to SOA. Okay, you cannot test other technology web services in Enterprise Manager. Okay, suppose I have a Java web service, I have a .NET web service, I have some other web service. I cannot test other technology web services in Enterprise Manager. SOAPUI is purely a testing tool. Okay, mostly testing people will use. Of course, developers also use this tool because of its features. I will tell you what are all the different features we have. Okay, so this is completely an individual tool, not at all related to SOA. By using this tool, you can test any technology web service. You can test SOAP web services. You can test REST web services. I will show you REST web services going forward, but today I want to show you SOAP web service. So what I want to do, I'm just creating a client project. This is a client application, web service client application. What I want to do is, if you click on this icon, SOAP, okay, or you can right click on projects. Any option is fine. New SOAP project. Either go for this or you can click on SOAP, this icon. Okay, any one option is fine. If you click this, it will ask you, I will say hello world practice. You can give any name, sir, any name. I will say client, hello world client application. Okay, and here it is asking initial WSDL. We need to provide the concrete WSDL. It may be SOA web service concrete WSDL, Java web service concrete WSDL, .NET web service concrete WSDL. Irrespective of technology, every SOAP web service will have a concrete WSDL. Okay, let's copy the concrete WSDL. We already have this concrete WSDL, right? Where we can get the concrete WSDL? Go to Enterprise Manager. Go to Enterprise Manager. Here is the icon under the Hello World program. I am in Hello World program. Go to this icon, and here you can see the concrete WSDL. Copy this, and go back to your SOAPUI tool, and here you need to provide the concrete WSDL, not the endpoint, guys. You need to give the concrete WSDL. Say okay. Say okay. So once you click OK, a project will come here. Your SOAPUI project will come here. You can save it. Save it. Okay. I'm going to save the Hello World project. Hello World client application. This is a client application. Save. Okay, it is asking me to save somewhere. I can choose a desktop or some other folder. I will say I will choose this folder and I will create a new folder here. So projects. I just created one folder and here I want to save my project. Are we good? Done. My program saved, but it is not SOA program, guys. It is the client application. And now if you go to the request one, you can see the request and the response tabs. I think font is very small for you. Let me copy this here and I will paste it in notepad file. You can see what is there. See, this is the request in SOAPUI. SOAPUI, the left section is request, the right section is response. As of now, there is no response generated. Okay, so I just want to show you the request. The request, let me paste it in notepad file. If you see it in notepad file, observe. Envelope is the root element. Header is optional for now. Body section contains the input XML. So here I want to give some data. Okay, let me use this data in my SOAPUI. Because it is small font, I just show you. I want to show you it in notepad file, guys. No need to copy into notepad file. It's not mandatory to copy the payload into notepad file. Okay, directly you can modify it here. Okay, Sai Santosh. Okay, just submit the request. This is the place to submit the request. Once you submit the request, in the response tab, right side, it is the response tab. Go to XML tab. You can see the response. Under body section, you can see the response. Hi, Santosh. Let me copy this. Let me copy the body section. See the response? Body section contains response XML, which is a concatenated logic. So you can test your web service not only from Enterprise Manager, you can test your web service from a browser, you can test your web service from a third-party tool called SOAPUI. Not only SOAPUI, guys, there are several third-party tools. Which help you to test a SOAP web service by doing a client application. So the SOAPUI, how it is behaving as a client application. It's completely out of your server. Okay, and I saved it here. The option here, the advantage here is we can save the program. The client application I can save. Okay, maybe after 10 days, if I restart the SOAPUI, okay, and SOA server is up and running, make sure if the SOA server is not up and running, you cannot test it, because the SOAPUI is finally calling your SOA server only. Okay, so this is something like this. How? Let me open it. I will show you the background process, what is really happening when we use a third-party tool. Okay. If you observe this diagram, let's open this diagram. Okay, if you observe this diagram, oh, sorry, not this one. So protocol. See, observe this. There are two different components. One is client machine, and another is server machine. So our SOA program is already deployed into server. Our SOA program is already deployed into server. Okay. And your SOA program is waiting for the request to generate the output. What happened? The client machine, it can be a different machine as well, guys. No need to be the same machine. Server is in one machine, client can be in a different machine. Okay. So server must have network access. It should be allowed to access through network. When I said network, it can be a LAN, it can be a WAN, it can be an internet. You know what I mean by LAN, WAN, and internet, right? LAN, WAN, internet. All are networks only. Okay. Your server should have access for these networks, either LAN or WAN or internet. Suppose if it is internet, your server enabled in internet, you can access your server anywhere in this world. You got my point? I mean, server is in USA and you can access from Hyderabad. Not an issue. You don't need to have a local server. You don't need to install the server machine in your local laptop. Okay. Anyway, your server must be allowed and accessible through network. And once the program deployed, see, this is our web service. This is our web service and it is deployed in our server. Now what happened? Let's assume my client machine contains SOAPUI tool. Okay, here I submitted the request XML. Immediately this request XML packed into SOAP protocol. Your request XML packed into SOAP protocol. Okay, so this SOAP packet will travel through network. When it is traveling through network will use HTTP protocol. That's what we are using here. See this. I mean, where is the endpoint? If you see this endpoint, it is using HTTP protocol. Okay. So your program will travel through network. Your packet will travel through network and reaches your web service, which is in the server. Okay. When the packet reaches your web service, it is still a SOAP packet. Okay. So this SOAP packet will be validated. This request XML will be validated with respect to XSD. Who will validate the XML? DOM parser. DOM parser is an inbuilt program in your SOA server. This program will validate your request XML with respect to XSD. And if the XML is valid, then only the XML will be allowed inside the web service body and execute the business logic. Okay. And the response XML, finally response will be generated. Again, your DOM parser validates your response XML with response XSD. And if it is valid, and the response XML will be packed into SOAP protocol, which is going to travel through network and reaches the client. In our case, SOAPUI is our client. Okay, so client, a web service client, no need to be SOAPUI. I told you there are several options, right? So what are the options we have? It can be an enterprise manager. It can be a browser. Okay, it can be SOAPUI. Client applications, I'm talking about a client application. It can be a Java program. It can be a .NET program. That means a Java program internally calling my SOA web service. A .NET program internally calling my SOA web service. A web application, Angular web application, can call my SOA web service. A HTML program can call my SOA web service. So in that case, when a program or an application is calling my web service, all these guys are treated as client applications. So whoever is calling my SOA web service, that guy is called as client application. So in our current case, SOAPUI is our client application. Suppose if I'm a Java developer, I want to call SOA web service from my Java program. Okay, it is possible to call the SOA web service from Java program because web service concept itself is a technology independent concept. I mean, there is no limitations. Suppose if you see Java program, it will be very difficult to call the .NET program. I mean, directly it is impossible. A Java program want to communicate with a .NET program, impossible to do that. Directly impossible. Okay, but if a Java program want to call a target service and which is a web service, any technology web service, there is no restriction on the technology. Okay, so that is possible. A Java program can easily call any technology web service, any technology, not only SOA. Okay, I mean, Java program want to call another Java program. Is it possible or not? It is possible. Suppose Java program want to call a .NET program, which is not possible. Which is not possible by default. But Java program want to call a web service. Web service. It can be any technology web service, SOA web service, .NET web service, anything. Technology is not really important. It is possible. Okay. So because web service is technology independent, web service has no limitations on technology. Okay, it's a technology independent thing. So if you take this last example, if you consider, okay, in this case, Java program treated as client application for our SOA web service. Any question? Any question? Come on, guys. No questions from anyone? No? So you understand this concept, how the program is getting executed. I mean, in the network, how it is getting executed, the communication between two machines, client machine and the server machine. So hope you understand the background process. Right? Okay, let me stop the recording here.